Welcome to Digress, a podcast with the sole purpose of sharing the passion and love for film together. In this show, you'll dive into the minds of the hosts to explore and comment on all things movies and entertainment, while getting a little off topic along the way. Welcome back to Digress. I'm your host, Jenks, alongside Coco, and as you can see or hear, Dan Bow could not join us today.
He left us.
He went away. Where did he go? Cincinnati?
I think he went to Indiana or something like that for the week, and then he's heading to LA this weekend. The boy got invited to Kung Fu Panda 4, so W's in the chat for Dan. He actually, I remember when he started, like, when the Kung Fu Panda 4 trailer came out, and he was like, dude, like, I got to start pumping Kung Fu Panda 4 content.
Dude,
so
yeah.
We're excited that he's at the premiere this weekend, and can't wait to see what it's going to be like.
Yeah, he was working for that one.
Yeah.
So
Hopefully he gets to see Jack Black. I think a Dan photo with Jack Black would be insane, dude. I think
when is the premiere? That I'm guessing it's this weekend.
It's this Sunday. Yeah, it's this Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. Hopefully we'll see a Danbo Jack Black picture
Skadoosh
collab. Skadoosh.
That'd be so fun.
No, today I wanted to mainly talk about with the release of Dune Part 2 this weekend, which you have already seen.
Oh, yes. I'm ready for round 2.
I want to talk about some sci-fi movies and maybe, some of our favorite sci-fi movies and where Dune 2 might rank, or the Dune trilogy might rank in these sci-fi movie rankings. So you go ahead and open up with your spoiler-free, at least, review of Dune Part 2.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, the first movie, when I first watched the movie, the first time I ever watched it, I think I was like very tired when I went to the theater, so I ended up falling asleep. Mind you, you probably know this, but the first Dune movie is very slow paced. It's very visual.
Yeah, it is.
Not a lot of dialogue. It's more of like you getting invested in what's happening through the characters and, all these like cinematic masterpieces and stuff like that. So the first time I didn't appreciate it as much, and then the second time I watched it, I actually wanted to pay attention and get into the world of like Dune and all this creation and stuff like that. And I thought it was great. And mind you not, that was just great from like zero action, all like small dialogue and like visual. It was really pretty. I really loved it. It made me more excited to get into part 2. And now that we got this part 2, I went into it like expecting a lot more. And that's exactly what I got out of the movie. In the ways that like, the characters are more fleshed out because they take their time in the first movie to kind of like introduce them, tell you who they are, what their motives are. And then this movie just completely like tenfolds the character and like their emotions and like the action going through. Like there's a lot more action in this movie. I feel like the visuals they're going to just like, I don't know, they give me goosebumps. Like I think the scene is on YouTube, but the sandworm scene when he writes the sandworm for the first time, that scene like completely gave me goosebumps, and there is no dialogue in that scene, like absolutely no dialogue, just sound effects, visuals, and then that one lady like doing the like in the background when he finally rides it. It's insane, dude. Like it's an actual like experience. But I know this movie is long. It's like 2 hours and 45 minutes or something like that, but it does not feel like that because those are the best movies. The long movies that don't feel like they're lengthy and they like, you leave out of the theater wanting more. So I thought it was great. I thought this is probably Timothee Chalamet's best performance ever. I think I can like maybe say, some of his other movies like stand up there, but I think not even Wonka. Like this is just like his best performance ever. And Zendaya was amazing. Josh Brolin was amazing. And Austin Butler, dude. Austin Butler is going for the Oscars next year. His performance here is like insane. Like, yeah, I don't really want to spoil too much, but it's one of those movies that like will be in my memory for a long time, and I consider it a favorite as of now, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
I think the biggest like there's a lot of mixed or like a lot of people on both sides of Dune, the first Dune movie, because like. Just because it can be like seen as like really boring.
It's
and, like,
a slow burn.
You have to invest. You have to invest.
Yeah,
like
you really do.
The time, and you have to pay attention to the because I was the same way. I watched the first time through. I don't really remember watching it the first time through.
I don't either. I remember falling asleep because there was so much like I didn't want to fall asleep. I don't fall asleep in movies, but there was so much silence that my brain was just like.
Yeah,
like
it's definitely like a different kind of experience that you have to have in terms of different like other movies.
Absolutely.
But then there's a lot of people who will watch it, multiple times. I mean, I'm to that point now where it's a beautiful movie.
It's
It's
a great
incredible.
movie.
It's already one of the best sci-fi movies ever made, I think. Just the first one.
It's
But
a little bit complicated, but I think if you like come out of the first movie with questions and you do your research and you answer those questions as to like, everything you want to know about it, and then you watch it a second time through, then
mhm.
all those questions and answers are like right there in front of you, and you understand the movie as a whole. So you don't come out of the movie confused and like bored, like that you didn't understand what happened. Because once you understand it, yeah, it's very intricate and it's very complex, but it's very, very, very fun.
Yeah. What I want to ask is,
Yeah.
with the two different responses to the first Dune movie, how does the second one compare to like the pace and like the biggest complaint that people had about the first one was, it being, a little bit boring and slow.
To
How
world
does
building.
this Yeah, how does the second one compare to that? And do you think more people will appreciate the second one?
Yeah, so I think definitely like I heard a lot of people said that was missing in the first movie was a lot of action. And I can
Hmm.
tell that because a lot of the first movie was like world building, like introducing you to this character of Paul and like his family, the Atreides, and like him going to Arrakis and stuff like that. So it was a lot of like visuals and understanding what you're about to experience. But this second one, like I think from the get-go is just like go, go, go. And it
Hmm.
doesn't miss a beat. Like there's some moments when there's like, not action, but there's like visuals for you to like see and understand what's going to happen. But I would say the pace on this one is like pretty quick. Like I'm not saying like the movie rushes or anything, but I'm saying like every scene has something to look at. Like after each scene, we're on to the next one, and then the next one, something big is happening, and on to the next thing, something big is happening. So it's more fun and action. That's what a lot of people wanted, and I think it's not as boring and toned down as the first one was, even though I don't think it is. But I feel like a lot of people will, if you like the first one, or if you try to like the first one and it wasn't really your pace, if you give this second one a chance, I think you're really going to enjoy it just because of, the action sequences and like how much more the characters have emotions and fleshed out and all these challenges that Paul has to go through and stuff like that. And also, Zendaya was barely in the first movie. You're gonna see a lot of Zendaya in this second movie. Like she's gonna be like all throughout this entire movie. And yeah, the cast is a little bit bigger too.
Yeah.
Florence Pugh, Austin Butler. Um, so you're gonna get to see like a little bit more of like other characters with different personalities. Austin Butler is really fun. So I would not imagine anyone going to this movie watching those Austin Butler scenes and being bored because
Yeah.
I was like looking and I was like, this guy is crazy. But yeah, this pacing is definitely a lot better than the first one. Um, I'm excited for everyone to see it and see what they think because I feel like the second movie is what's going to change everyone's mind about the first movie. Like they're going to
Yeah,
watch the first movie
I
and be
was
like,
gonna say the same thing. Yeah,
yeah,
like if that's true, like if it's true, everything that you're saying, it'll just make people want to go back and watch the first one and appreciate the slow pacing of it, so that it can build the world for the second
exactly.
one.
And you also
Yeah.
have to remember this whole two movies are like one movie. So like if you
Hmm.
watch the first one and you're like, well, you have to remember you just watch half of the entire story. You didn't get, the entire
Yeah.
5 hours that you're supposed to like really look at from afar and be like, okay, I understand why the half of this movie, like half of this story was slow because it had to build up to get crazy and chaotic at the end of this story. Like it makes
Hmm.
sense, a lot more sense. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for everyone's like, when does it come out tomorrow? Like it comes out tomorrow. Like,
Yeah, I think they'll have. Well, by the time this comes out, it would have came out yesterday.
yeah, yeah, but
But I'm not gonna see it until Saturday
that's
because I will be
okay.
up. I'll be up in New York.
Do you
But
have good seats though?
oh yeah, right in the middle, right
Yeah,
in the center of the theater. I made sure to get them
I'm so
on
pumped.
IMAX, so I'm really
I'm
excited.
so pumped, and I feel like this director right now, like conversations right now, is like, does Denis Villeneuve like match Christopher Nolan? And Christopher Nolan has so many more movies under his belt, but you can tell like Denis Villeneuve is like up there with him. Like
Yeah.
this is like it's like a student, like a master, and like a student, and like the student is like almost going to overcome
Hmm.
the master. It's really like interesting to see and stuff like that. I love that conversation too.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of good stuff about him, and I think, I mean, even after the Dunes, run their course, he's probably got some other stuff cooking up for us.
Yeah. It'll be fun. So yeah, like I would say, like I heard people saying like our parents had like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, like, as their like sci-fi experience when they were growing up and stuff like that. And they were able to go to the theater, experience it, firsthand, and then come out and be like, that was amazing. Well, I feel like for this generation, like this is our Star Wars. This is our, Lord of the Rings that we never got to experience because we were either not born or like we were too young to like even attend to these things and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it's like very monumental to see that something's unfolding in front of our eyes. And it just so happens to be, some of the greatest actors currently right now in the industry, like the youngest and best actors currently, as well as like a story that is worth adapting into like the big screen.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think that this movie has, 4 of the top 10 young actors right now.
Yeah. And
maybe top 4, maybe
top 4. And I'd go to say like actors like Dave Bautista, Josh Brolin, Christopher, and who else am I thinking about here? Like, Oscar Isaac in the first one was already like a huge actor, but like he's not coming back. Jason Momoa, insane. Like, like the cast, like the entire Dune universe, the cast of the entire Dune universe itself is like top tier, like top tier actor.
It's Skarsgard is the
the Stellan Skarsgard, like the dad of the 2 brothers. Like that's insane. He's like the Baron, which that alone is like insane. But yeah, I don't know. I love like how the cast was so like well built, and it's funny because I'm making a video on this right now, but the entire cast was built around Timothee Chalamet. It was like Timothee Chalamet came first, and then his mom and dad, and then around that they started building the world. So I like that Denis Villeneuve kind of goes this way of like not just like throwing roles at anyone and everybody, but it kind of like him making his dream team one person at a time.
Yeah. You mentioned the actress that plays Timothée Chalamet's mom. I'm trying to remember what her name is.
Lady Jessica?
Yeah. What's the actress's name, though?
Here, I got it. Her name is... Whoa.
Okay. What was that?
Oh, here is Rebecca Ferguson.
Rebecca Ferguson is... I don't know if you've seen... She's underrated actress, because if you haven't seen Silo on Apple TV... It is a
I know she was in...
It was a show based on the book series, the Silo book series, Wool, Shift, and I don't remember what the last one's called. But that show is so well done, and she is a phenomenal lead in that show. She plays a completely different character. Like she's like this hard engineer, and she's so good.
She's in The Greatest Showman, I just realized as well.
Is she?
Yeah, she's in The Greatest Showman. She's in 3 Mission Impossible movies. She's been in the Mission Impossible movies since the 6th one. Men in Black International, as well as Doctor Sleep with Ewan McGregor. I've never seen Doctor Sleep.
Underrated actress.
Underrated, but let me tell you, she is phenomenal in this movie. I think like top 3 favorite characters in the movie has to go to her, because she just has this way of like her line deliveries and the way she goes about like physically being a presence in this movie is just like it's great. Like it's really good. She's really good in this movie. I cannot wait to see more of her, hopefully. But yeah,
I'd say she was a top character in the first movie as well.
Yeah, she was.
We got to see a lot of her in the first movie. So.
I loved Oscar Isaac in the first movie. R.I.P. to my man. I would have loved to see him more. You know what I mean?
Dude, Oscar Isaac has stuck his foot in every single successful franchise ever made.
It's actually insane. It's actually unbelievable. Crazy.
He's been, he was Moon Knight in the MCU. He was Apocalypse in the X-Men franchise.
Miguel O'Hara in the Spider-Verse universe.
O'Hara. He was what was his name in Star Wars? Like, what was his name?
Oh! He was the freedom the freedom pilot, right?
Yeah, he was the rebellion pilot. What was his name? Why can't I think of it? Poe Dameron. Yeah,
Poe Dameron. Yeah, Poe Dameron. I was like, am I saying Poe from Kung Fu Panda? No, but he was in there. He was also Apocalypse in the X-Men reboot, like the Fox movies.
Yeah.
So this guy has like pretty much like established himself as a very well-rounded actor with a lot of range.
Just in everything.
Yeah, and then like I know we haven't talked about Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet, but geez, like once you watch this movie, you're gonna be like, I don't think I could like recast the role of Timothée Chalamet for anyone else.
Mhm.
Like he literally, I don't even know how to explain. Like it's almost like you see him and you're like, yeah, dude, I don't think there's anyone could have played your role, and no one fits the way this guy kind of like carries himself in this movie. You know what I mean? Like it's
Mhm.
like if you thought he was a child in the first movie, he's a complete grown up by the end of this movie, like full on like grown up.
That's awesome.
Kind of crazy, but yeah,
He's such a good actor.
yeah. And
I mean,
then once this trilogy is completed, like it's definitely going to be a contention of like, is this one of the best trilogies there is out there?
I mean, yeah, I don't see how it can't be in that running.
Maybe
already.
top 5, not top 3. I mean, depending on how they end the trilogy, but it could definitely be like a top 5 up there with like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and the Dark Knight trilogy for sure. Dark Knight trilogy, top 3, untouched.
Okay.
Nothing's ever going to bring it out of there. So
Okay. I've heard a lot of arguments saying that it wouldn't be just because the second movie carries it.
the
so
Dark
far.
Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you also have to understand we were like it was different times as well, Like
It was, yeah.
you have to also remember like movies like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings were very much so science. Like I feel like those were science fiction to the core. Like everything about it is just science fiction, space, mythology and like back in the day and magic and stuff like that. And then the Batman was like very grounded for what it wanted to be. It was like very realistic in a way. So I think we forget about the fact that movies like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings gave us a lot of like special effects and a lot of like, magic in our eyes and stuff like that. And then The Dark Knight really, established himself as like, this is a sci-fi movie, but as realistic as a sci-fi movie could get. So I'll give him that.
I love that Dune is that movie for us because Star Wars, or I guess for our generation, because Star Wars was based originally off of the Dune books. So it's kind of funny that like it's not the origin and the content that it derived from is now becoming the popular thing.
You know what I thought? Like I was reading the books because I'm reading Dune Messiah right now, just to kind of like I really want to know what's going to happen in the next movie. And then I realized that this book came out in 1964 or something like that, and I was like, wait, this is way before Star Wars. So who came first, like Star Wars or Dune? And then I realized that
Star Wars is based off of Dune.
And then I started like seeing all the connections between Dune and all that kind of stuff, and I was like, dude, like,
yeah, chosen one who has a special ability that like not that many people have. Yeah,
hot take, but Paul Atreides, Timothée Chalamet's character is actually Anakin Skywalker.
Anakin,
like, hot take, bro. Like, just wait until you get to the third like movie. You're gonna be like, oh, this guy was not the hero at all.
Oh.
Like, he is the
okay.
He comes off as like the chosen one. This one's supposed to lead people and stuff like that. And then when he takes like control, then everything just goes to like obliterate it. And then everyone's like, "Oh, this guy was the bad guy."
Oh my god! Okay.
Hot take though. Hot take though. We'll talk about more about that when the movie comes out and everyone has watched it. But
yeah.
I feel like.
But yeah, no, I've seen so many things recently where they're like, yeah, Dune 2 is like The Empire Strikes Back. It's crazy really how much it's like it. I'm like, no, Empire Strikes Back was like Dune first. Because
no, it's true.
Dune came out first.
I will always give props to directors who are able to take such an intricate and complex story such as Dune and narrow it down to like what it is on the big screen. Because I'm like, I don't know how you could read a book and just like imagine what that could look like on a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
and
like
I think
insane.
That's why the first movie is so important, is because it sets everything up. Like that movie, it would be impossible to make this movie like try to do it in one long spiel like some movies do. Like you have to have like a setup, and that's what the first movie is. And I think that's why it's so beautiful.
And if you've seen the original David Lynch movie, which I just watched like a couple of weeks ago, this is really funny because this is like the first attempt they ever did at making a Dune movie or whatnot. It was like 1984. Yeah, it was 1984. And the entire first, like these two movies were essentially one movie. So in an hour and 45 or 2 hours, they basically rushed everything from like the moment he starts up until like the end. And I was like, no, like, even if when you watch it, you're like this is still a little bit rushed. Like you cannot rush just like so much story into one movie. So I think the perfect thing to do was do it this way. Like, build the world, build the characters, show who they are and what they want to achieve. So by the second movie, everything is just them, like, you know, working their way to achieve that goal, which is the best way that could have worked possible in like a story, you know. It's the reason why we got Infinity War and then we got Endgame. We saw them struggle through Infinity War, losing, actually like struggling and making a game plan, so we could see all the heroes in Endgame reform back, get a game plan, come back and beat Thanos. I don't think Infinity War or Endgame would have worked as one movie. I think it would have been pretty dull and rushed, if anything.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why people are probably calling it, I don't know, I haven't seen it, but I'm guessing that's why people are probably calling it The Empire Strikes Back. I'm guessing they probably don't win this movie, if I'm taking guesses here.
What do you mean, like win?
The good guys, I'm guessing that they don't really win this movie.
So I think the reason they're comparing it to Empire Strikes Back is because Empire Strikes Back was about like bringing down, like, you know, the bad guys, or the good guys bringing down the bad guys, or the bad guys bringing down the good guys, and it's just like a war. It's just a war. And sure, like, you can compare like the fight scene where Luke gets his, like, you know, jumps back to what's it called, Boba Fett, and like he throws him into like the Dune and stuff like that, and he gets swallowed by the worm and stuff. So I think you could, like, you know, kind of like see how it's the Empire Strikes Back, but I think what they really mean is like it's like the sequel to the original movie that just like levels it up by like so much, like so much, like establishes like that, oh, this is what this like universe is about. Like, you know how like in the first A New Hope we were introduced to Luke, Han, and Leia and Darth Vader, and it was like them finding themselves as a group and like, you know, what they were going to do to save like the galaxy and stuff like that. And then the second movie it was like full on, go on, like you're a Jedi, now you're trained, go and fight, like, you know, all these like bad guys and stuff like that. So I think, you know,
I mean, I think Empire Strikes Back is one of those rare movies where the second movie is the better movie.
That
doesn't happen much.
And you can compare A New Hope to the first Dune movie because it's very heavy on dialogue and very, like, you know, exactly, like it's an hour in, and by then Obi-Wan is still explaining to Luke like the entire like galaxy and like what the Force is and stuff like that. So it's like, you know, it's a little bit slow, but if you can push through the first movie and go to the second movie, I think you're going to do great. And also, like, have questions. Like, I feel like a lot of people watch movies that are intricate and complicated like this, and they just don't ask enough questions. So they're just like, I didn't understand that, but I don't care to know. But I'm telling you, once you understand and once you know, it just becomes so much more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, but Dune and Star Wars do like such a great job. At balancing the world building in the first movie while also making it entertaining.
Exactly.
Because there's been a lot of you know, past tries at movies where they're trying to make like it's obvious that they're trying to make some kind of universe, but the first movie is so dull because it's just world building without entertainment, and so it fails. We've talked about it on the show before, but the 2014 Fantastic Four, I think, was trying to do that movie. But in the process of world building, they didn't give us any entertainment. No. So we didn't want to see a second one.
Exactly. So, and like, I feel like you really have to have a vision if you want to put you know, something like this in two parts. Because if you want to have an entire hour and a half spent on world building, you have to let me leave that theater me wanting to know more. Like, if you just show me 1.5 hours of world building and it's not interesting to me, I'm not going to want to see a part two. I'm not going to want to see a sequel. And that's the case for like a lot of movies nowadays that start with like a movie, and then it's like, oh, it's okay, but the second movie is like the Last Airbender. Like the Last Airbender,
same
world building,
way.
all that stuff. It ends with a cliffhanger, but by the time you get to the cliffhanger, you're like, I'm not interested.
Like,
like, this is not
I don't
good
want anymore. Yeah, if
like,
the second one's going to be like this, I don't want it. Yeah,
exactly. And you know, that's I appreciate that there's directors that care about you know, building all this stuff and really giving us something that we can remember and hopefully make ours for the next 10, 15 years until the next big sci-fi movie comes around. So I'm really excited.
Where do you think, that gets me thinking, where do you think sci-fi movies are going to go? Like, what do you think is the next kind of direction they take? Because I think, you know, we're getting, you know, it's basically just like space stuff now. Like, where else? What else can you do? Or is something going to replace sci-fi in terms of
I feel like there's
big
eras.
trilogies?
and you can correct me on this, but I feel like there's eras as the years go by. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like we'll have like superhero eras, and then we'll have sci-fi eras,
You
and
think
then
it's just like a cycle, and
it's like a cycle. Like we're gonna move
yeah,
on from
okay.
the sci-fi onto something else, and then we're gonna move on to something else. Like who knows? Like for example, like when Interstellar came out, and when Arrival came out, and then The Creator was last year, and those were all like great sci-fi movies and stuff. People
Hmm.
were like on a high for like sci-fi. They loved sci-fi movies and stuff like that. And then we were like on the phase for superhero movies, animated movies. When it was like dramas, biopics were
Hmm.
like a huge thing like a
Like
couple
the
years
early
ago.
2000, early 2010s or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I think like we're in a good way with sci-fi films, but just like anything, people are gonna get fatigued. People are gonna want to move on to the next
Yeah.
thing. It's like fashion, you wear something for a while, it's cool. People get tired of it, on to the next thing, and then 10 years from now, you're gonna
But
see
that
that
fashion
same.
always comes back.
It always comes back
It
one way
always
or
comes
another.
back.
So it's just phases that we're going to have to go through. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
So do you think we're gonna see some like dystopian future movies coming up real soon as we
so
get back into that
you
era?
mean like Maze Runner and
Like
like
Maze Runner, Hunger Games,
I
stuff
think
like that.
those would be really good because I think it's been a period of time where those movies have not been around. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And I know maybe the Hunger Games, Ballad of the Song and Snakes try to do that again, but I didn't really feel like that but honestly, wait, I think we are going towards that era because if you remember, they're rebooting the Twilight series, they're
Yeah,
rebooting the Harry Potter series,
they are doing that.
so I wouldn't be surprised if they reboot the Maze Runner series in a show way. And I
Okay.
mean,
Honestly, Maze Runner might work better as a show.
yeah,
I'm gonna be honest.
I feel like it would really work well as a show, especially if you want to do like season 1 Maze Runner, season 2 Scorch Trails, and then season 3 The
Yes,
Death Cure. That
like
would
Percy
be
Jackson. Well, like how they did
it
that.
would
Yeah,
be great. It would be look, Percy Jackson is another example of like all these resurgence
yeah.
like teen
I think that's
dystopian.
kind of. I think that's kind of the era we're in right now. Is just remakes, though. I think
Yeah.
that's the era we're
Yeah,
in.
that makes a lot of sense. Remakes and live action adaptations are like the
Yeah,
thing right now. We're definitely gonna move away from those things.
yeah. People are
Because
gonna get tired of them. I mean, we want
yeah,
to see some original ideas.
there's only so many reboots you can make. Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I think
we're like,
Liam Neeson.
okay, let's make something new now.
Yeah, like Liam Neeson is starring in The Naked Gun, and The Naked Gun is like a comedy classic of like there's like private investigator and stuff like that. And now they're remaking it, but Liam Neeson is like starring in it. So
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, like I guess we're getting like another remake soon. Like how long until we get a Taken like reboot? Like I
Yeah.
hope I'm alive to see a Taken reboot.
I mean, we're bashing these things, but what would you say is your most excited reboot coming up?
My most excited reboot.
Yeah.
I feel like I was really excited, and in this past a couple of years already, but I was really excited when they rebooted the Batman with Robert Pattinson
Hmm.
because I just like thought well maybe this is the one that I'm gonna really like because I love The Dark Knight and I love the Michael Keaton movies, but I felt like I never really had a Batman of my own, a Batman to be like
Yeah,
this is the
no, I
one,
agree.
this is the one that I like identify with and probably will identify with for the next coming years.
Yeah,
So when that Batman came out, I was really excited. And I was like, dude, like this is the one for me. Like this is the definitive
yes,
version of Batman for me. I know Ben Affleck. I love Ben Affleck, but something about the Robert Pattinson like movie was just like, it spoke to me. And I don't know if there's any movies that are rebooting this next couple of years that I'm really, really excited about. I would say Superman Legacy.
yeah. I mean,
And
I don't even know if I would count Batman and Superman as like what I'm talking about in terms of reboots, because
like
I would
classic
talk
movies.
like a classic movie being remade.
Hmm. Are there any movies that are coming in the next couple of years that will be getting rebooted?
Yeah. Well, I have my answer. I was just gonna wait till
Give me
you
your
gave
answer
one.
so I can kind of like spring off that.
I don't know when. I'm guessing probably 2026. It might be late 2025 though. They're remaking Highlander.
Oh, no way.
It, wait, is that what it's called? Am I dumb?
Highlander. I mean Borderlands?
Wait, is this right?
Highlanders.
Yeah, Highlander. Okay, I'm not crazy. For some reason, that sounded so wrong in my head. I literally just watched it like a couple weeks ago. No, the Highlander movie is a 1986 film about these immortals that there's like immortals that are scattered around the world or whatever. And basically when one of them kills another immortal, they like gain their power.
Oh, sweet.
And so they go around like hunting other immortals. And then so it jumps like through time periods, but the main story is set in New York in present day, well, 1986 New York.
They're like modernizing it a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and so the final battle between like the last immortals takes place in New York, and it's gonna see like who's the very last immortal that's gonna be left.
That's crazy. I'm just looking at here that Henry Cavill is the one that's gonna be playing
Henry
him.
Cavill is gonna be Connor McLeod. Dude, I am so excited for that because that movie's good. Okay, it's really good. It's so outdated. Like it's 1986, like special effects, and you know how old movies are. Like even Star Wars is like, it's like the effects were iffy. So taking that idea, which I think is a phenomenal plot, like a great idea, and can be like so well done in the modern day, and redoing it with Henry Cavill I'm really so excited.
I want to watch it now because the way you explain the plot, it sounds interesting. So I'm really, I kind of like, I'm really interested in like knowing what that's gonna look like.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like one of the best movies in the world.
No.
But it's a really good movie, and watching it and thinking about how it will look modern day will get you very excited because it's a really cool concept.
No, I love the concept, how it's almost like a battle royale.
Yeah,
in a way.
I mean, it basically is. Yeah. Oh, it's got I'm blanking on this guy's name. Hold on.
Like a new
Give
actor?
me a second. Yeah, no, not the new one. The old one has Sean Connery in it.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. It's got Sean Connery and Clancy Brown. Clancy Brown is terrifying looking in that movie. He looks
1986. That's actually really.
Go look up Clancy Brown, his character in that movie, and tell me he's
Clancy
not
Brown. Clancy Brown's always like pretty, like,
Oh, just wait. Just go look up a picture. I want to see your reaction.
In
to this
Highlander?
Guy. Yeah. It's actually terrifying. Like they made him look like something crazy.
Oh my god. Wait. He looks like a member of Kiss.
He does, yeah.
That's insane. Who's playing him in the new one? Highlander?
I don't know. I don't know yet.
That's crazy though, because you could tell like like they made him look like very, very, very gothic, like all like with the long hair and stuff like that. That's crazy though.
Yeah, so I'm excited for that one. That's been on my mind for a little bit now.
Okay, so I think you gave me a couple ideas that I just remembered. So Greta Gerwig is a great director, and I really liked all her work so far. I feel like she takes
Barbie was gas.
Barbie was amazing. Lady Bird was really, really good. Little Women was great.
Love Little Women.
I think what I'm really excited about, and this is actually plays off into the fact when I was a kid, I really liked the Narnia series, the Chronicles of Narnia. She's remaking the Chronicles of Narnia.
Greta Gerwig's remaking Narnia?
Yeah, she's making the first 2 movies for Chronicles of Narnia. So
I didn't know that.
I'm really excited to see that. And that's like a reboot that like I would have never thought that would have come around, but I think it's, they kind of given the time, like, it's due for a reboot type of thing. So
and it's gonna be movies, not a show.
No, it's gonna be like movies, but like if anything, they're gonna be long movies because there's a lot of lore behind the Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't expect anything less. But yeah, I think since we talked about like all these reboots not happening, like not counting, like what's it called, Superman Legacy, Fantastic Four, Batman, Brave and the Bold.
We're excited for those. I mean,
we already know we're excited for those movies. So, I think Twister. You know what movie deserves a reboot now that I think about it? But it probably would be really bad. Or honestly, I think it just got a reboot not too long ago.
Don't keep me guessing. No.
No, I think it's a classic. Don't touch that movie. I just thought about it. Sorry about that.
That's like Back to the Future. Please don't touch it.
Back to the Future?
I don't want a reboot. It's too good. It's too good. I don't want them to try.
It doesn't deserve a reboot. Speaking of reboots, I just watched the Mean Girls reboot. I didn't hate it, but it's not like, Like
Yeah.
sticking to the original.
Yeah.
But also remembering that it's a completely different like take on the movie and stuff like that. So
yeah. I can't really think of any other reboots off the top of my head. You mentioned Twister.
Yeah, Twister's like
Glenn Powell.
It has Glenn Powell, and I think it
Yeah.
has David Cornsweet in it too.
Is he in that movie?
I think so. Twister 2024.
Superman is going to be with Booster Gold.
No, yeah, he's in there, and so is Anthony Ramos from Transformers.
Stack cast.
Like yeah, so it's a pretty good cast. Kiernan Shipka, Daisy Edgar Jones.
I know a reboot that we're both excited for. Power Rangers.
I mean, I was gonna say that at one point, but I haven't heard anything about it.
I haven't heard anything, but they announced it, so it has to happen. Is it going to be like R-rated or something?
I think they're gonna make it mature, which is really weird because the Power Rangers have always been like characters that like kids and teenagers and adults can really identify with. But if they're going with a mature audience, we're all grown up now, though. So it makes a lot of sense. Give them like real world problems and stuff like that. So when the movie got rebooted and Dacre Montgomery, what was his name? Dacre Montgomery,
yeah.
When he stepped up, I was really excited. I watched the movie. I think my height of like excitement of Power Rangers was like a little bit too high for me to critique that movie at that point. But then the older I got, I was like,
that. I like that movie.
I do too. But then I'm like, is this a movie that could play off well with sequels? No, it's not a movie that could.
It's a cult classic.
It's a cult classic, but it's like, I don't know. I think it really does need a reboot. I think they really need to not lean so much on like the sci-fi aspect of it. You can make it a lot more simple, and
yeah,
you know what I mean. But
yeah,
like you just sparked my interest. It's like I really want to know like where this movie is going. Power Rangers reboot. Is this ever happening?
I really hope so. Because I like heard stuff about it and I got really excited.
I know that the guy that's writing the reboot is like, what has he?
Bro, let's let Matt Reeves direct it.
Matt Reeves would be insane. This guy would literally make it like too serious, like
Dude,
Power Rangers kill type of thing.
Yeah.
Dude, the guy that's writing this movie is Brian Edward Hill. Listen to this. Brian Edward Hill is known for dark writing, and is the announced writer for the reboot.
How dark?
What has this guy written?
Not like horror, right?
No, I like horror. Wait.
No, give me some movies that he's written.
That's what I'm trying to find here. Brian Edward Hill, dude. Imagine this guy like just directed like the Saw movies or something like that.
Is Brian Edward Hill gonna save us?
Oh God, this guy's only like written one movie.
Oh, okay.
And I don't even know the movie.
All right, hey, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, we'll see what he comes up with. I feel like when the time comes around that they announce what's happening, I'll get a little bit more hyped up. But for now, I'm not gonna get my hopes up because that happened to the last movie, and my hopes were crushed.
Mine were not crushed because I went into it happy and I left happy.
Yeah, me too. But I think I was just on a Power Rangers high and stuff like that. So speaking of which,
what's your favorite Power Rangers?
What's my favorite Power Ranger series?
Yeah,
SPD.
Love SPD.
I love SPD so much. And
mine's probably Dino Thunder.
Dino Thunder and SPD are my top two. And if I had to pick a top three, like a third one just to fill in that little, it would definitely be Ninja Storm. So Ninja Storm, SPD.
Solid choice.
Solid choice, dude. They're so good. Like I rewatched them like a couple of years ago, and I was like, these still like hold up like the test of time.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of crazy because the longer we've gotten into like these new Power Ranger series, and I just watched them out of pure interest. Like I don't watch them because I'm like trying to watch every season, but like I just watch them to just know where the series is and where it's going. I don't know, man. They got a little bit cheesier, like too cheesy. Yeah. I feel like, you know.
Well,
like
they're done now, though, right?
Yeah, the entire thing is like restarting again. Series is entire over and stuff like that. But yeah, top three for sure. Those are really good.
Yeah. Well, speaking of reboots, we got a very controversial review of the most recent cartoon to live action reboot recently.
Oh yeah,
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh my goodness!
And I feel like me and you have pretty differing opinions on this.
Yeah.
So I'll let you go first, and then I'll talk about how I felt about it.
Yeah. So I'll tell you right now that my earliest memories of Avatar or when I was a kid, and I didn't watch the show chronologically. You know, so I was just watching it whenever it was
feel
on
like
TV.
most kids probably were the same
Most
way.
kids it was like that. So I recently started watching the animated series. Love the fact that it's like, you know, so mature topics that they cover, yet it's a kid show and stuff like that. So the story is amazing. So I went into the animated, like into the live action adaptation, not trying to compare it to the animated series to a certain degree. But I think from the get-go, what really like stuck out to me was that they were going with a different direction. Like from the beginning of the show, like I already felt that they were trying to do something different while still maintaining like the same feel for Avatar. Like Aang looks like Aang, Katara looks like Katara, and Sokka looks like Sokka, but that doesn't mean that their personalities really match those characters. I feel like I really started to get bothered by episode 3 when they literally started like taking like 4 or 5 episodes and just chunking them all in one. And I was like, wait, I know this, but wait, I also know this, but wait, what? Like, I just felt like there was like so much happening that they were trying to tell in such a short time.
Yeah.
And just like a couple of aspects, like, I don't know, like I understand now when people mean like leave it at an animated series, don't make it live action, because certain things just work better if you just leave them animated. Like you don't have to convey, like in the animated series, like you can tell the characters are feeling emotions, but they don't tell you that you just like, you know, the character's going through that. I feel like this Netflix series completely takes that out from the viewer, and they just tell you that they're feeling this. They're telling you their struggles. While like, you know, the beauty of the animated series was like it was a kids show treating mature, like, you know, problems, and you could still tell through a kids show that this, you know, he was sad, he was alone, he was feeling lonely, he was going through all these different things. And then I feel like Netflix completely said, no, we're going to explain everything that these characters are going through. So I don't know. I'm still on episode 5, which is the Spirited Away episode. And I was just like, I feel like this episode doesn't work in live action. Like this episode is like really cool in the animation, but like the moment he went to like the spirit realm, I was like, no, like I had to like take a break and go back to the animated series because I don't know.
I have something to say about that.
And you're telling me that episode 6 is like the best of the series?
Okay, so let me go into mine. I really like the series. I like what it was trying to be, and I understand that it's very different from the animated. And I just recently watched the animated for the first time a couple months ago. So I went into this excited, and I came out excited. My biggest problem is probably the same as yours, is episode 3 and 4. Very mixed bag of, you know, episodes. Yep. And it was a little bit all over the place. I wasn't a huge fan of what they did with the, you know, the Mechanist. And although I loved the Secret Tunnel song given to us in that episode.
Yeah.
It was a little weird that they gave it to us that early in season 1.
Yeah.
But up until that point, I would say I liked the show. It was good. After watching episode 6, I moved up to this show is great, because episode 6 like sold it for me. It's all about Zuko and Zuko's backstory and his relationship with Iroh
and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the Blue Spirit and his relationship with Iroh, and you get a little short taste of like Aang and Zuko conversation, which is really good. And so that episode's like changed my opinion about the entire show, just because it was so great. And the thing about the sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
The thing about the Spirited Away episode that I think was really cool was that they included. Have you seen The Legend of Korra yet?
No, but I've seen a couple of bits of it, and I know what it is.
They included like heavy content from The Legend of Korra in that episode, which I thought was really cool, because one of the biggest problems I have with The Legend of Korra, and compared to The Last Airbender, is the way that they handle the spirit world is very different. They don't feel like the same spirit world in the two shows. And then the live action almost changed that. They made the spirit world in The Last Airbender a little bit more like how it is in Korra. They have that when they're in the fog. The owl's in season 2 of The Last Airbender. But they're in the fog, and they were like roaming around in the fog. The people were. Do you remember that part? That was in Korra. A lot of the Gyatso being able to go into the spirit world after he died, that's a Legend of Korra thing. So I think that's what made that episode pretty cool to me, was that they included stuff not just from The Last Airbender that we didn't see
They
in The Last
incorporated
Airbender.
stuff from the universe as a whole.
Yeah, and I didn't expect them to do that at all, and I thought that was really cool.
I feel like if you never watched the animated series and you watch this live action adaptation, you may enjoy it just because you don't have anything to compare it to, and you don't really have anything to like, oh, this doesn't like fit this or this doesn't fit this type of thing. But I think once you watch the animated series, like I think a part of you, regardless if you're trying or not, is always gonna like be comparing one to one.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't trying to do this. I promise you I wasn't trying to do this. And then I watched the first couple of 2 episodes without a problem. And then I went on social media and then I started seeing like literally people ranting about the first 2 episodes. How apparently Aang doesn't fly, so why was he flying in the first episode? Like he was literally like airbending himself in the air and like flying and like hovering and stuff like that. And then
he was falling with style. I'll go with Buzz
falling
Lightyear.
with style. That's what everyone just keeps saying too. And then people were like, people are like, I don't understand how Katara is like water bending and like hitting people with the like her water. Like that literally looks as hard as I would spit water out of my mouth. Like
well, yeah, I mean, that's the limitation of live action, right?
Exactly. That's the limitation. But when it comes to the story, I think there's a lot of dialogue, and then the dialogue can get a little bit too dull and monotone at times.
Yeah.
And it can make the series feel flat. Like I'll say the thing that I enjoyed the most is Zuko and Iroh's relationship, and when they're both on screen, because I actually feel like something is happening in there. Like I can see the frustration in Dallas Lee's face. It gets better. That's great because I love those 2 in that series. But I feel like the relationship between Aang, Katara, and Sokka, they have great chemistry, but I feel like their dialogue almost kind of like sets them very flat tone.
Yeah, that was my biggest problem with the series, was the chemistry between those 3, because I think the actors had really good chemistry. They just didn't give them a lot of time together in the show, and it doesn't feel like they built that chemistry, because by the end of it they're like, oh, I'm glad like I found my, like, it's a found family.
It's a found family type of thing. Yeah
And it feels like they didn't really get there, like they didn't have enough time together to get to that point. I think that's my biggest argument.
The fact that in the series, like very early on, you also see Aang showing signs that he likes Katara. In this series, like I'm like on episode 5, and he has not given one single sign that he likes Katara at all.
I disagree, though. I think I actually like that they left it out, because I think the first season of The Last Airbender, they didn't really hint at Aang liking Katara.
No, they didn't hint, but like I said, like there wasn't verbal cues that he liked her, but there was like visual like things that you as a viewer understand, like him looking at her while they're writing Appa, and him just kind of like getting lost in her gaze, or like him giving her the water necklace, and him literally just like almost like drooling at her, like, or like the episode when they go to I forget what it was, but they go to this one town, and Aang is basically asking the grandma, like, what's in my future? Like, is the girl that I love, like, gonna fall in love with me? And then Aang is, like, trying to raise up, like, Katara throughout the entire episode. But there's, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I would have loved if the actor could have shown a little bit more kind of, like, or if he would have written, like, they would have written that kind of hint a little bit more. Because I think you don't need to show me that they're in love, that they like each other. But you just got to show me that that's going to play off later in a season, you know?
I think this is what we need to prepare ourselves for in terms of this show. Either they're waiting until they get a little bit older to make it not as weird because they're kids. Either that, or they're setting up Katara and Zuko, which is possible, I think. They might be doing.
That wouldn't be bad.
Because a lot of fans wish that would have happened in the animated. So I would not be surprised if they do that in the live action.
I feel like, the live action, if there is a perfect time for you to add that kind of like love triangle, is in a live action series, because love triangles thrive in live action. I don't know why, or I don't know how it works, but somehow, some way, every big movie, every big series has a love triangle of some form, and that's what people love to see. So if they're waiting for season 2, then I'm all up for it. But they're gonna have to start like giving me like a little bit of momentum with that relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think season 2 is gonna have some big improvements, but I also need people to remember that it's not going to be exactly like the animated. So stop comparing.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of just like realized that it's never gonna be like the animated series.
It's not. You can't get that good anymore. You know what I mean?
No.
Like it's never gonna be as good. So just lower your expectations.
See, I would love if Dan was here to kind of give me his insight, because like what I hear from a lot of people is like, how could they have done the One Piece series in live action so well, but how could have they gone the entire different like route with Avatar? Like,
Well, the thing with the One Piece that they didn't want to do with Avatar is make it really close, like almost identical to the animated series. And because that's the thing with the animated series. I mean, with the live action, they dramatized it. They made it more of a drama and darker, and they didn't do that with One Piece. They made it.
I
like,
guess I see
exactly
what you mean, because like I've seen like the first 20 episodes of the One Piece animated, like the anime, and the live action, I kid you not, it's pretty 1-to-1. Like, yeah, it's like you could take like scenes of the movie, like the scenes of the series and the anime, put them like literally above and below, and you can be like, whoa, this is like they use the anime as like a visual cue of to what to do for the adaptation.
Yeah, and so it's the same. It's the same vibes too. It's the same feeling you get from the animated, you get from the live action. Avatar's not. They switched up the vibe completely and made it like a little bit darker and more dramatized.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I'm excited.
Go ahead.
No, I feel like I'm waiting for that season 2 announcement, because I feel like people are on their on the edge waiting to see if that season 2 is going to get announced anytime soon. Because it usually gets announced like pretty soon after like it comes out. Like they'll know from the first like weekend if people really loved it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think we'll see it. I think we'll see it really soon. I mean, it's #1 on Netflix. The viewing numbers are absolutely insane right now. I think we'll see the renewal. I just hate the people switching up on the movie, man. When people now are like, oh, I went back to the movie after watching this trash. Chill, bro. You were just talking smack about it a week ago.
I made that movie about Noah Ringer and like how he got done dirty by like the community and stuff like that. It blew up. And I mean, I'm happy people liked it, but like all the comments were like, "Oh, like I would prefer watching this movie over the anime, like this new live action series." And I'm like, "Whoa, that's insane,
comment on one of my videos. I got a comment on one of my videos that said the live action movie was better because at least we only got 2 hours of that." I was like,
at least they capped it at 2 hours.
Yeah, I was like, chill out, dude.
I mean, there's
switching up real fast.
There's things that I see like the movie did. I'm not saying the movie was perfect, but like if you take the movie and look at a couple things that they did right, not the dialogue, not the story, but to a certain degree, I felt like, and this is just going to be like an opinion I heard on the internet. This is not my own opinion, but they said that the live action series looks too cosplay for the main three. Like, if you're going to make a series where this kid was like frozen for 100 years and he's fighting earthbenders and firebenders and all that kind of stuff, at least make his clothes like a little bit dirty so I can believe that someone like, used it like a dirty rag.
But the same people that are saying that are also saying, I don't like it because it's too different from the animated. Hey man, in the animated, their clothes weren't dirty.
Hey, the animated, they wear the same clothes every day.
That's all I'm saying. So pick a side.
I have a question. I haven't finished the series though. I haven't finished the live action series, but I'm pretty far in season 2 of animated series. Okay. And one of my favorite characters in season 2 is Toph. She's really good in that series. So I'm wondering, do they hint at her at the end of the live action series in any way or form? No.
I mean,
they would be like a cool like post-credit scene.
Yeah, they weren't gonna do that though. They wouldn't save her just in case it doesn't get renewed. They don't want to. They didn't really.
Oh, they don't want. They don't want to give They don't want to do an Azula like they did in Last Airbender.
No, they did. There is a really cool Azula scene at the end though.
Really? Because I feel like it's pretty pointless.
It's her. Oh well, I like. It's not really spoiling it for you because it's going to happen, but I like what they did with her, and you don't really understand what they're doing until the end, which you'll see. But they're basically making throughout this whole series, she's just trying to win over her father.
Yeah, because in this animated series, she's like she doesn't have to.
Yeah, because behind the scenes she was having to, which is what we're getting in the live action. And the final near the final scene, you see she wins over the favor of her father, and they do it in such a cool way. I don't want to spoil it, but they show how powerful she is at the end.
No, because she's OP in the show. Like in the show, she's OP.
They hint at that at the end of the series. You'll see.
That's insane. Electricity,
crazy, dude. I'm not gonna say nothing, man. I'm not gonna say nothing.
I love that.
It was really cool.
I dig that.
Yeah. With that being said, I can't wait to go watch Dune 2, man, this weekend. We'll have to talk about that.
We're gonna watch Dune 2. I'm gonna watch it again. Jenks is gonna watch it this Saturday, and Dan we will convince Dan to watch the first movie.
Drag Dan to the movie theater.
We will fly to where Dan is and drag him to watch this movie, so we can actually dissect this movie next week. Talk about like what we love, what we hate, where this series is going, and then we'll get a little bit more in depth into it next week for sure.
That'll probably be what this
next Thursday or Wednesday. What's that?
What'd you say?
Oh, next Thursday or Wednesday for sure.
Yeah, I think it'll be that whole episode. Next episode will probably be all Dune.
All Dune. So, special Dune. We're all gonna be wearing still suits as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna be wearing a sandworm.
The swarm, the sandworm Moosey.
The popcorn bucket. I'm just gonna have.
That's crazy. Fun fact: I saw someone put the sandworm thing on top of a Taylor Swift popcorn bucket. Dude,
that's so funny.
That's too much.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next week on this episode of Digress.
See you, everybody.